He presides over a part of the Christian church most Americans are not aware of, and he does it from a country that is 99% Muslim. Come with us on an adventure into one of the most spectacular and oldest of all Christian enclaves, threatened today as never before.
Jose Andres calls himself a pilgrim from Spain.
So that's
liquid nitrogen.
That's liquid nitrogen.
A chef who arrived here 20 years ago with just $50 in his pocket and a set of cooking knives.
Are you ready for this? Because I believe your life is going to change forever. I mean it.
This is going to change my life?
Maybe.
But these days, it's hard to call him anything less than an amazing American success story.
What just happened?
I'm Steve Croft.
I'm Leslie Stahl.
I'm Bob Simon.
I'm Morley Safer.
I'm Anderson Cooper.
I'm Scott Pelley. Those stories tonight on 60 Minutes.
The spirits who watch over us rose from deep within the void and darkness.
Every medical study ever conducted has concluded that 100% of all Americans will eventually die. This comes as no great surprise, but the amount of money being spent at the very end of people's lives probably will. Last year, Medicare paid $55 billion just for doctor and hospital bills during the last 2 months of patients' lives. That's more than the budget for the Department of Homeland Security or the Department of Education. And it's been estimated that 20 to 30% of these medical expenses may have had no meaningful impact. Most of the bills are paid for by the federal government with few or no questions asked. Now, you might think this would have been an obvious thing for Congress to address when it passed health care reform. But as we reported last November in the midst of the debate, what used to be a bipartisan issue has become a politically explosive one, a perfect example of rising costs that threaten to bankrupt the country and how hard it is to rein them in.
Ms. Klisch, it's Dr. Byock.
Marcia Klisch is either being saved by medical technology or being prevented from dying a natural death.
I'm sitting here in the sunshine. This place is not mine, and all is not fine. Like, where is all my corruption? I need destruction to make me feel okay. Did I get lost along the way, playing nice like they wanted me to be? No, I will not smile to make your day. I just want to cause a little entropy. You tried so hard to make a hero out of me, but there are some rules I don't obey, and I just want to cause a little entropy. Entropy, 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 evil. Entropy, 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 entropy. You tried so hard to take the discord out of me, but I'm not generic in that way, and I just want to cause a little entropy. Well, I've got no good intention. The fourth dimension is my own mansion. It's all messed up, I don't care. 'Cause what fun is there in ever making sense? Did I get lost along the way, lose my mind for a new identity? I quite enjoy ruining your day, and I just want to cause a little entropy. You tried so hard to make a hero out of me, but there are some rules I don't obey, and I just want to cause a little chaos and entropy. Entropy, 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 entropy. You tried so hard to take the discord out of me, but I'm not generic in that way, and I just want to cause a little entropy. I just want to cause a little entropy. This old heart was never warm. Silly ponies can't reform what was already so real. So you can try to change my ways for the rest of all your days, but I can't change the way I feel. That was really cheesy. Did I get lost along the way, lose my mind for a new identity? I quite enjoy ruining your day, and I just want to cause a little entropy. You tried so hard to make a hero out of me, but there are some rules I don't obey, and I just want to cause a little... Yeah! I'm causing all the entropy, yeah, entropy. You tried so hard to take the discord out of me, but guess what? I wasn't born that way, and I just want to cause a little entropy. What?
not sing a song that says beautiful. I'd do anything irrefutable, 'cause you are the sun, painting my heart in the sky. Whoa, oh, sugar, sugar bell, oh, when will you tell me that you feel the same? Like an angel on a candy cane, or the sunlight shining through a drain. Across the sky to come see what I was seeing. You were the one that made me believe I could fly. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Birds could not sing a song that's as beautiful. I'd do anything that's irrefutable, 'cause you are the sun, painting my heart in the sky. Whoa, whoa. Sugar, sugar bell, oh, when will you tell me that you feel the same? Like an angel on a candy cane, or the sunlight shining through a drain.
Hey there, Tempest. Oops. I mean, Fizzlepop Berry Twist.
Tempest is fine.
Aw, but your real name is so much cooler.
If you say so.
Pinkie Pie. One of your newest and bestest best friends.
More like my only one.
What do you mean?
Well, I worked for the Storm King for so long, I just don't know if I'll ever fit in around here. Most ponies are still afraid of me, you know?
Well, maybe they just need a chance to get to know the real you. Oh, I know. Nothing brings ponies together like a catchy song and dance number.
Another one?
I saw you were looking blue. I know our world is a little new to you. It's easy to sulk around. You don't want to go anywhere but down. But you can rise up when you're surrounded by friends.
I thought we went over this.
What will help smile crack? A bunch of parties back to back to back. No time to be all alone. Drinking the love that'll warm you to the bone. You can survive alone, but you can't party without friends.
That's fine with me.
So come on, Fizzlepop, please don't mope around like sorry sop. Tonight you're gonna end till you say stop. So Fizzlepop till you drop.
You're not going to let up, are you?
Nope.
All right, fine. You really want to know what it's like to be me? Storm clouds obscure the sun. Tempest shadow doesn't have much fun. Safe behind my steel facade. My thirst for power left my vision flawed. I am a champion, but I struggle to make friends.
They're smart, use and fight. Bring your fireworks into the light. You've got a silly side, it's true. Go ahead and show the deeper you. You've got a lot to give, so you should share it without end. If you can be yourself, it'll be easy to make friends. So come on, Fizzlepop, and come dance with me on the tabletop. Blue ain't your color, so make us laugh and live it up, hook the top together. Come on, Fizzlepop, please don't walk around like sorry sop. Tonight you're gonna end till you say stop, so Fizzlepop till you drop.
As annoying as you are, you make a good point, Pink One. Whatever. I won't let my time with the Storm King keep me from being happy. Being Fizzlepop Berry Twist.
That's the spirit! No sense hiding in the dark. Being you is gonna make us spark. Living with authenticity. Grants all new opportunities. This is your home now, where you can finally make friends.
Don't care about being weird.
Friendship will overcome the fear.
Find joy in letting go.
Cookie can be fun for all you know. We've all made mistakes, but that's a perfect time will end. 'Cause you can rise up when surrounded by friends. Fizzle pop till you drop. 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 So come on, fizzle pop and launch all your fireworks through the top. Friends you make that work and swap and dance like the spinning top. Woohoo! Come on, fizzle pop, please don't poke around like sorry stop. Tonight you're gonna end till you say stop. So fizzle pop till you drop. I said tonight you're gonna end till you say stop. So fizzle pop till you drop. I said tonight you're gonna end till you say stop. So fizzle pop till you drop.
Thank you, Pinky, but this is just too much. I'm pretty sure I can make some friends without the need for singing or dancing or endless parties.
Sure you can. But if you don't, we can always sing the song again.
Great.
This video is sponsored.
All the shipping lanes are interrupted. But yeah, besides that, we've got most of Europe relatively untouched. Again, the power of centralization, the fact that people either stay in the place that they're dropped into, or they go really far away to somewhere they want to be. That kind of actually matches up the real world as well. Again, like immigration profiles, like generally speaking, people live in the town they're in, or they go to the most prosperous town, you know? Most people aren't like, you know, I'll go to the next town over. You know, you live where you are, or you go far away, and that's something interesting you can reflect on here. As we pass over entirely untouched Germany. Like, besides maybe a few trees and a few burnt structures, no one's settled down in Germany as best I can tell, which is not what I expected. Same with Denmark, besides, of course, our little Denmark map, because, again, it seems as though the best place to hide was in plain sight, like, no hackers made their way up to here, because Denmark, with its nice little map, is still here. Also, pilgrimage to Britain, anyone? A reference to a recent video, at least I hope so. Could be a coincidence. I mean, isn't there a chance every reference in the world is a coincidence? Like, that's the problem with the word reference. But yeah, the only other place that seems to be colonized and happy in Europe is Norway over here. As you can see, there is no way that they were going to let the hackers get to them, and yeah, they've done a pretty good job. Oh, this is what this place was, a little stair house and this. Although I think they've claimed Norway for Russia based on this thing right here. So Norway is now Russian, so that's a tragic turn of events, but I mean, at least it's all in one piece. That's nice. To help me get around the map faster, I've given myself speed 200. It might be just a bit too fast. Oh god. So the interesting thing I couldn't tell before, because I didn't have the render distance for it, was that what I thought previously was something like Southwest Africa is actually just south of Egypt. Like, we're talking, you know, near the Middle East, just across the sea, the narrow sea, if you will, from the Middle East. And yeah, that means this nice little place where they, you know, colonized 3 separate countries and then got destroyed by this was actually right next to the Middle East. So to me, it makes a lot of sense that, yeah, well, you know, you build some stuff in the Middle East. In the real world, that's already quite dangerous. In Minecraft, that's just asking to be destroyed. Speaking of the Middle East, is there anything else in here? Is it just that, like, little contingent across the sea? Or did someone do something in some sensitive places, maybe? Now, here's the shocking thing, right? Somehow, one of the few peaceful places where no wars, no destruction, no hacking was done was Israel/Palestine/ this area right here. All entirely left the same way it was a whole 2 weeks ago. That is insane. I think we just found the solution to the Middle East crisis, right? Like, all you've got to do is distract everyone, make it hard to get to, make them not realize where it is. Yeah, if we just, like, hide the Middle East, then there won't be a Middle East anymore. It'll just be the place, right? So one of the things that's most notable by looking at China and its serious lack of development is I think that most people might not be aware of the fact that this was a globe map, or if they were aware, because people knew where Mexico and Quebec were, I think a lot of people couldn't work out how to find a particular country, because searching those thousands of blocks on the ground is a lot harder than here in the sky. And also, even if they could search those thousands of blocks on the ground, your render distance is so small, it's hard to get a real idea of the fact that this is South Korea. Like, oh yeah, oh sorry, this is North Korea. Oh wow, someone actually built something in North Korea. We got Pyongyang Tower. I believe this is, fun fact, in North Korea they have this huge tower that like it's just they pretend it's a huge hotel, but it's not open to guests. It's a very weird place. But yeah, someone built a giant firework here. They built a weird multicolored tower and this kind of odd house where they settled down, built a house, and then moved on, I guess, with a lot of elytras. So a hacker lives in North Korea. I mean, nothing's changed from the real world there, right? And then over here in South Korea, we've got nothing where Seoul should be, but someone's built this little tower, or I think it's a mob grinder maybe. Yeah, someone built a mob grinder where Busan should be. I'm not sure if that's like North Korean aggression or what that is, but it is kind of interesting. And Japan, which is the country everyone loves to love, right? Like, when it comes to countries you love to hate, there's like, North Korea. When it comes to countries you hate to love, it's like, I don't know, Italy. It's like, oh man, I love you so much, but you give me so many reasons not to. When it comes to countries you love to love, Japan's like top of that list. Are you allowed to say that about Italy? I think that's probably fine. I've got like an Italian friend, so it's totally okay. But you can see how even though everyone loves to love Tokyo, the place is mostly untouched. It's covered in cobblestone, so someone was here. They covered it in torches, so they did something to it. But then they just kind of gave up, or maybe they never found any more. Or maybe they went to the edge of the world, because all of these little beacons on the way lets me know that that's what they found. But yeah, Tokyo, Japan, all untouched, which is very shocking in my opinion. Also untouched is the Atlantic Ocean. It seems as though, even though this was 2 weeks of hundreds, if not thousands of players joining in slowly over the course of those weeks doing things, some of the areas that just didn't warrant any attention were places like the Atlantic. Like, you tried to never portal over it, or you tried to boat over it. There wasn't really any point in starting anything up here, so it seems as though every now and then we have someone who's like, I'm gonna mark this with a giant 1. Is that a 1? It's kind of a 1. Or like, they placed some blocks so they wouldn't drown, maybe? I'm not even sure why they did these, but for the most part, you can see how there's very little going on. That even though, a lot of players with a very big map, you'd figure everything gets touched in some ways, there's a lot of areas that are pretty much entirely untouched. There are also some very tactical bases, like this one, which, he built a smiley face. Again, everyone has crying obsidian on the server, like, can I just mention right now, to whom it may concern, I've been stranded at sea and I found your place here and lived here for a bit, and they left me a gift. Oh, that's kind of cool. To whom it may concern, I have been stranded at sea and I found your place and lived here for a bit. I left you a gift in your chest as a thank you. I love that, like, there's still some amount of decency on the server. Even though, obviously, the experiment kind of just showed that, like, oh yeah, everything kind of broke regardless. There are cool little stories like this. Someone made a nice little house at sea, and then someone who was boating forever, didn't find anything besides this, used it as their way to kind of get going again. They farmed some trees, they did some stuff. I love that amongst all the hacking and amongst all the, terrible stuff, there are some cool stories happening. Because, pro tip, can I make this impassioned plea right now? I don't want you to hack on the server. I don't want you to duplicate on the server. I think, I would ban duplicating if it was so easy to do. In fact, I think on the next experiment and any future ones, I will ban any duplicates. Because people like to try and defeat the point of survival as much as they can. That's not what I like to do. There was even explicitly rules against hacking, but you still see it a bunch. You see it literally everywhere. And yeah, if you're watching this and you're like, oh yeah, well that's what we do, maybe next round there are some more punishments, just letting you know about that. But yeah, speaking of next round, not speaking of next round, this round, speaking of things that are in a Minecraft world somewhere, here is Prince Edward Island, if I'm not mistaken. I thought it was Nova Scotia, but I guess that over there is just Nova Scotia. Actually, that's Newfoundland, right? Newfoundland. And this is roughly Prince Edward Island, and this is roughly Nova Scotia. I want to say we're in Canada right now. And as you can see, Canada is quite nicely put together. So, yeah, Atlantic Canada has been destroyed and rebuilt several times. But the one truth here is that Toycat is yes. Big fan, big fan. But yeah, they made a really nice little frontier down here, which I think is pretty cool. And they also have their own little flag. We've shown this up before. But this is one of the true successes, in my opinion. The fact that obviously, this place managed to survive more than a few days. It got destroyed, and then it managed to survive days again. I think this is a model of success for the rest of the server, although, again, this shows me that they did at least a little bit of duplicating. So something I had to see for myself to really believe is just how isolated America was. So, but when I say America, some people are going to be like, actually, that's both of the Americas together. No, the Americas is a concept. America is a colloquial term for the United States of America. Is it too informal? Maybe. But yeah, when we're talking about the United States of America, or America, if we were going to simplify it down to one word, there's always one guy that's like that. Like, no matter how much you clarify, they're like, well, actually, one person told me once, and therefore that's facts. I never looked it up, but it's totally true. You know, so we get rants about people who don't like you calling it America, because, you know, it is silly that we generalize, but it's what we do, so we just kind of have to accept that. But yeah, so speaking of Florida, speaking of America, you can see how looking at Florida over here, for example, all of the major populated regions, for the most part, are just desolate. There's nothing going on here, which, besides the network over there, which surprises me, because I expected, like, oh yeah, Americans are the largest demographic of Minecraft, but also of you know, this YouTube channel, and therefore of the people who would probably be checking out the server. But most you know, Americans did not go straight to their home. I feel like we could make a swipe at them and be like, you know, it's because they couldn't find them. You know, when you're given a random map and you ask Americans to find where they are on it, they're not going to be able to. That's what, you know, my brain immediately goes for the jab like that. But maybe there's something more to it. Maybe, you know, just the idea of settling down in America isn't fun. Maybe we've proven that when you give people a lot of choices, they like to roleplay, they like to be in Quebec, they like to be in Atlantic Canada and Prince Edward Island, because no one really lives in Prince Edward Island. It's like a big conspiracy, except here on this server. But yeah, the first time you really find anything is just south of the border. It's a naturally spawned village, from pre-village and village, I should clarify. Like, look at those old school villages. But yeah, until you get to Mexico City, there's just nothing on the North American subcontinent besides, or real continent. As soon as you go south of, you know, the Canadian cities, you find nothing until you get to roughly where Mexico City should be, which is a mega city. And someone said this in chat earlier, and I kind of agree. The way they defined, you know, cities in real life, kind of like how in the UK it's commonly believed you need a cathedral to be a city. Not true, by the way, but separate subject. In the same way, if you have a giant toy cat statue, you're kind of a city in this. So at one point we had like a Sudanese state, we had a you know, Mexican state and a Canadian state. Now it seems as though we have 2 Canadian states and a Mexican state. But yeah, that is the world right now. 3 successful civilizations in a sea of unsuccessful ones. But yeah, Mexico City, one of the very few actually successful, actually long-term working ones. So who'd have figured in a world where people dispute, you know, thrown between the UK and France, a kind of battle between 2 great powers, that the winners would be Mexico and Canada. But surprisingly, that is what happened. That is exactly what happened. And yeah, we could show around the rest of the world. But for the most part, as far as I'm aware, most major population centers, most major countries are just left alone. Like, here's Belize, here's Guatemala, here's all the Central American countries. We might find Panama soon, actually. And you better believe when you get a Panama, you're going to get yourself a Panama Canal as well. But yeah, the one other thing I noticed is down here in South America, which most people didn't make it to because it's really hard to get from... I mean, in real life too, right? It's hard to get from the UK to South America. That seemed to be true in this version too. Someone at one point must have had something here, because someone came all this way, all the way to the other side of the world, just to grief them with that, you know, like the lava staircase trick. And I don't know if that takes, like, I don't know if that's like more commendation worthy, because they went for a lot of effort just to do this to someone's build. So yeah, at one point we had Venezuela existing, but then it got covered in stone. So that's a thing that is a thing, I guess. By the way, now that I have the increased render distance, you can also see stuff like, you know, this for instance, where this is the edge of the main world with New Zealand, and there is like the extra world. It's weird seeing this huge gap in between them. In case you're curious why this happened, it's because on a Minecraft realm, only so much blank space can be registered. If it's not like loaded in blank space, then it just preloads chunks like normal. So there you can see, that's how people found their way to the edge of the world. But yeah, let's go hop down to New Zealand and kind of finish off our plan. Because the cool thing about this is that no one went to New Zealand, and once again, New Zealand was entirely forgotten about, which is a crime that you've got to go fix in the real world and or the Minecraft world. Go make a New Zealand build, you know, the world is worth it. But no, more seriously, I hope you did all enjoy this video. I hope you learned something or saw something from it. I realistically think that it's not necessarily the most educational video. So yeah, when it comes to trusting strangers to not do bad things, you can trust some strangers but you can't trust the group of strangers. You can trust a friend, you can trust a person, you could even trust a single stranger, but as soon as you start trusting strangers as a group, the more people you get in a group together, the more people tend to do bad things to that group as a whole. And it's an interesting part of how we do operate, and I'd love to someday dive into why it makes sense that, you know, if there's one person that tries to help someone, you'll do a good job, but if 100 people try to help, they'll all do terrible jobs. It's something I'd love to discuss and talk about sometime, but for now, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comments what you thought, because I was expecting this to go differently than it did. I didn't expect that we just get mass destruction by spawn and some successful places. I honestly assumed that, you know, like someone would nuke Japan. I assumed that we'd end up with like one civilization that will just move around the map. But the fact that we got multiple parallel, somewhat successful civilizations is something that gives me hope for a world in a post-apocalyptic nature. And yeah, anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. I hope you all enjoyed it, because I'll see you all in the next experiment, which might be Java, who knows. I just want to stop people from hacking and duplicating, and maybe that's the experiment. Maybe it's Toycat bans anyone. Yeah, maybe the next experiment is like Toycat bans hackers again, because it is pretty cool to, it's very satisfying to me to, you know, stop someone doing that. So yeah, who knows what I'll do. If you want to know, then you can follow me on Twitter. But for now, I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.
I'm FNGR, and here we are. Monkey Jones's statement. Now, some of you guys with lives likely missed the important part of the video because it's buried 40 minutes in. I want to be upfront with you guys. When I went into this situation with Monkey Jones and one Lou the Kitty, it would have made my day, my week, my month, my year to have found out that Monkey Jones knew about Lou's involvement with the 15-year-old. But every piece of evidence, every piece of testimony, at least so far as I found, suggested otherwise. Past tense. Now, I'm not shy against trying to give interpretations, be creative on occasion, but there was nothing here, again, past tense. Till now, Monkey Jones, who would have thought that after all that digging, you would have just dropped everything I needed right in front of me, as bright as the day, as black as the night.
Or just because my brain has been altered completely. My dad told me on the drive here that I seemed like a different person. He felt like my personality was different. And that seemed really strange to me. But I've also been having trouble just with my memory of remembering things that I've done in the past.
Stop me on this one. Does this remind you of anyone?
So how many people knew you were being a Jagoff tune? If you're really sorry, you'll tell us.
I honestly can't remember. Because for me it's been so long that I don't remember half the things from then.
You ever notice terrible people when it comes to memory and screwing up? It's all a blur. Yeah, it's a fog, it's a blank. It's convenient. I'm not even expecting anyone to remember everything. But whenever you try to nail down someone awful to something terrible that they've done, and you hear blur, you're getting jerked around.
As far back as really anything before like 2013, like really my early college years and all of high school and all of that, I'm really having trouble remembering.
Once again, let's see if this feels familiar. This is from Y2K Toon Critic, a pedophile, when he was asked if he felt sorry about his misbehavior. He couldn't remember all the way back to, well, let's give it a listen.
Crescendo.
I'm sorry.
Bree Lizzie T. Because I remember asking you about that, and then every time it became, oh, she feels like that? What the fuck ever. So, that's the one that's fucking stuck in my craw. That was the very fucking first time I think we came to you with a serious thing. And every time you fucked up about that, I remember thinking, because I remember turning to whoever I was talking to at the time, who I do remember, but I'm going to have enough coolness not to fucking mention it and be like, look, I don't want to bury somebody being accused of rape or whatever. So, but, you know, I'd like to keep an eye on this. I kept bringing that up every time. You don't even remember.
Well, I do. It took me a second. It's actually hard for me to remember a lot of the names. Because it's gotten to the point where most of it just doesn't feel like it was like somebody else's life at this point. Because I don't remember most of it. But I do remember that. I think I moved too fast with her and I did something stupid, as I did back then with a lot of things, and that was on me.
You know what's funny? I can tell every time that I've shit the bed in a relationship. And if you had grabbed something, the only way I could see someone not remembering is that you've done it so many times that you just, it's a blur. Yeah?
It is a blur.
So with all that being said, when I was proven to be a scumbag who hurt people, who did bad things, the people who loved and cared about me were still there for me. Not because they support what I did. Nobody supports the bad things that people do.
Hi. That's objectively not true. We need go no further than Sargon of Akkad's run for office. That there were people, at least in the thousands, who supported his candidacy no matter how small that support was.
I look forward to them developing a truly dank news that will trigger lefty lobbies.
His key platform, his main point, his tentpole issue, the thing that he was going to wow the voter base with, the association he was going to ingrain in their memory when they thought of UKIP. One simple word. Rape.
Go ahead.
Why do you think it is acceptable to say on Twitter that you wouldn't even say a female Labour?
Oh, because I don't think women are any different to men in the way that you're treated. Unlike the establishment, literally say, if you were a man, I would send you to jail. And that means if a woman is being a giant bitch and laughing at male suicide, I'm going to be a giant dick back to her. Any questions?
There's still about 20 some odd people who still support Kirill the Wolf on Patreon. Do you know what he did to animals? I would argue that the ones that are left now, after everyone else leaving, are the ones who are more than down in what he's into. I know what you're thinking, you and the audience. If in GR, you're stretching it. So what if Monkey Jones cheated on Sheepover? That's his ex that he was moved in with previously. Who cares? And you'd be right, but there are people who support terrible behavior, and I promise you, we'll get there.
But it's the love you feel for those people is what propels you to want to help them redeem themselves. You want them to be better people because you care about them, and maybe you know that this isn't who they are.
Or maybe you really want or need something from that person. I mentioned Y2K2 Critic, a man who only ever got away with hellish bullshit for as long as he did, because everyone else felt that they could get something out of it. That's a fact. And like those people, Monkey Jones, you want something out of Lou, don't you?
And that they're a great person who made mistakes, and you need to give them all the love you can to help them feel better, to be better, to fix their mistakes. And so many people did that for me, and frankly, I refuse to not be there for the people who I love, even when they make mistakes. Which is why Lou the kitty, this girl who now everybody is doing a lynch mob against and they all hate her, I don't hate her at all. And in fact, I still love her just as much as I did when I was cheating on Sheepover with her. And it's true, I did not know about her prior relationships while she and I were together, and I was very upset to learn about them and disgusted, and for a short time I did feel hatred for her for some of the things she had done and said, even about me, things that I didn't even think were all that true or relevant for anybody else to know. But while she was in the hospital, she called me a lot, and I just felt like I needed to help her.
So let me get this straight. At Lou's lowest point, when no one else would talk to her, she saw you, and her giving you the chance to listen to her is how she proved herself. In my experience, brony fandom and the furry fandom, and hell, even watching internet blood sports, it seems to me as people feel pushed down the social ladder, they have to settle for a less and less tier of friends. In the brony fandom, we need to look no further than, say, Toon Critic or, say, Fallen Wish, and I do mention those in relatively the same breath, even though their acts are different enough. Their social graces or their social standing is at the bottom rung. That I assure you, the friends that they have now are not their first draft picks, or second or third. In the furry fandom, there's Kira the Wolf and Foxler. For example, here's Kira the Wolf back in the day when he used to hang out with Mahara Strawberry, and this big giant YouTuber, I forget his name, I'll have it up here on screen. Now, he has to hang out with whoever will stomach him now, and what he's into. In internet blood sports, you can listen to Eve and Ralph whine and talk about how Mr. Medicare won't come on stream with him anymore, and he has to settle for people like Gator or Flamenco. In your case, Monkey, here's you trying to get back with your boy Asperger. That's weird, isn't it? You talked up Lou, cause she had your back through thick and thin, but here you are trying to get back to your old crew, the crew that didn't have your back. So here is where I'm gonna get my thesis statement from Mr. Meatman's video.
Essentially paid Lou to come down to North Carolina where he lived, and he fucked her in his and his girlfriend's house, on his and his girlfriend's bed. Oof! Big oof! Another thing I forgot to add also is that Tyler didn't like condoms.
You know what he said to me?
What?
'Cause he didn't want to use condoms with me because he said he didn't like them. And
so Tyler fucked Lou raw. After Lou left North Carolina, around 2 to 3 days of getting some Monkey Jones action, Lou went back home to New York, though began to get worried about her life choices. Specifically, that she fucked Monkey Jones, Tyler Millard, without a condom.
and I got really worried, and I messaged him. I think this was like after the breakup. I was like, I hope I'm not pregnant. And he was like, if you're pregnant, you can't leave me.
After? What are we
Yeah, because I just came back from North Carolina.
She told Tyler that she was worried she would get pregnant. 'Cause, you know, that might happen when you have unprotected sex. And within this conversation, he messaged her very creepy things.
I was like worried. I was like, I hope I'm not pregnant. And he was like, if you're pregnant, you can't leave me. And I was like, damn.
No, like
I guess.
after the breakup or?
After, because I broke up with him right after when I was on the train. Like, he would constantly say things like, oh, I wonder what our baby would look like. It will look so cute. He would say like, oh, I want to marry you. But then he would flip-flop. He was like, oh, if you get pregnant, I'll kill myself. I'm like, alright. He was really flip-floppy.
Oh my god! Clearly, there's something mentally wrong with this man.
This is just me freestyling. This is just FNGR's Tism Storm. This is just my hot take, which wouldn't make a lot of sense before because Monkey Jones didn't know about Lou's quote-unquote special interests. Whether you want to call those mental defects or kinks, it would have been impossible till now to say that Monkey Jones willingly engaged in the potential harm of a future child's well-being. Not just any future child, but his future child. Monkey, for the record, if you do have a kid with Lou, and anything sexual happens down the road, I will do everything I can to publicly remind people this was a foreseeable consequence by you. I know the term enabler is thrown around all willy-nilly, but in the past, you have fetishized knocking up Lou, and now that you're back with her, and now that you know that she's into kids, and I highly doubt that you'd turn her in if you spotted her doing anything. But let's really consider Monkey Jones's state of mind.